Hey, Rainmaker family. If you caught any of our last two podcast episodes, you noticed that the audio was a little funky. If you listen to the intro, we kind of explained what happened. But honestly, it was because we forgot to hit one small button on our audio equipment that records these podcasts. But I want to tell you today the origin story of that and really how it came to be. So Steven and I, we've been working together for a lot of years, and we've been going live weekly inside of our Rainmaker community. And whenever we went to go do a live training, I would walk over to my desk, and oftentimes I would be sharing something live, on camera, and I would be seeing in the comments people saying Chelsey, we can't hear you. Chelsey, your mic isn't on. And it was because Steven and I didn't have a system of who is going to turn on my button to make sure that the audio was recording. And so one day Steven took a piece of paper and he wrote the words unmute Chelsey. And that unmute Chelsey sticker is literally right in front of one of our monitors. I'm pointing at it right now if you are seeing us on YouTube. And I feel like the minute that Steven put that sticker, unmute Chelsey, on our computer, I really felt like a wave of emotion come over me because that unmute Chelsey became my word for the year. This whole last year, my word was unmute Chelsey. It was release your voice. You have something powerful to share. And so today we are doing an episode all about the last year as far as building a brand on Instagram. Steven and I both have put more energy and income and team into building our personal brands because we know that if we can talk about the desires and things that are on our heart, it will ultimately lead to people connecting with us at the Rainmaker family. It's also a big value to have just as you're building any company. And it's been on my heart to do it. And so I stepped out and I did it, even though I was uncomfortable and didn't want to do it. So today, if you're watching us on YouTube, you are seeing that we're doing a different setup because the current setup that we have, where we are just looking right into the camera and talking, just hasn't felt right in a long time. It's been a little awkward and honestly created some tension between us because it's just hard to feel like you're having a casual conversation when you're just presenting to a screen that no one can see. So if you're catching this on YouTube, you're seeing that we are turned in, we're a little further back, and we're trying to create a more relaxed environment. So that's why we're doing this. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks or month, we're going to have a different podcasting setup that I think will be more conducive to what we want to do. But for now, this is why we have this today.
So yeah, we're going to have a casual conversation. I'm leaning back in my chair around personal branding and why you should be considering potentially building a personal brand like we are. We're really feeling the draw to do this. And we know there's a huge value aspect to that for our business. But also you can do this alongside your brand. And at the end of this conversation, we do have a cool tip that was shared with us by our friend Jackie. She's growing, I think she said 5,000 followers a week or something using this one tip. We got this from a high level mastermind. She showed us this. It's super simple. It has to do with Instagram. So if you're trying to grow a personal brand on Instagram specifically, which is where we're mainly focused on growing ours currently, that tip will make sure to hit that at the end.
Yeah.
So Chelsey, I feel like we got to start the conversation by talking about why personal branding, because not everyone wants to do this, but we've really felt the draw to do it more recently. We've built the brand Rainmakers. We built the Rainmaker family. And I feel like all of our companies we built have been a name. It hasn't been Steven and Chelsey. And I think there's strategy in that, right? If you're building a company, we don't have plans to sell Rainmakers anytime soon, but if you attach your name to it, when we were in the wedding business, it was really us, and you can't really sell a company when you are the person. It makes it a lot harder. Doesn't make it impossible.
Yeah.
It makes it harder. But I've seen a lot of people do this more recently where they're building their personal brand almost first, or they're building it alongside their company. And it becomes this super valuable asset. I mean, the person that comes to my mind is Mr. Beast, right? Mr. Beast built his personal brand on YouTube. And he has gained so much influence, one of the top YouTubers, that he can say anything and people go buy it. It's he can sell merch. He started Feastables, a chocolate company, snack company. He started a burger joint basically,
Mhm.
and like him, he sells these things out because he's built so much trust in the personal brand. And we
Mhm.
see so many like celebrities doing that, Conor McGregor, with like alcohol sales. We've seen a lot of celebrities honestly do
Mhm.
alcohol. We've seen, one of the Kardashians, didn't
Mhm.
she like launch a makeup thing? Like
Mhm.
for youngest female billionaire, launched a makeup thing, but she didn't start there. She started
Mhm.
with the personal brand. So
Mhm.
like we're seeing, I think a lot of people do that. I've heard people like Alex Hormozy talk a lot about it. We've seen him and
Mhm.
Layla lean into this over the
Yeah.
last couple of years. And so it really feels like it's a thing for 2024. I think there's a couple of factors that go into that. Like one, it works, but
Mhm.
two, like ad costs are really expensive, right? So like when you are just having to like drive traffic to your product through ads primarily,
Mhm.
having that level of trust through a personal brand, that organic, it helps
Mhm.
your reach just go so much further. So that's one of the reasons we're leaning into it. But let's talk about that. People buy things for people, and there's people behind every brand, but not every brand has a person behind it.
Mhm.
But I don't know, what have you seen in the Rainmaker world, like, or even in just in your world? Like, I feel like people have this tension of like, I don't know, should I put my
Mhm.
name on it? Should I put my face on it? Should I not?
Mhm. I can only share from my own experience, and so I think I'm gonna even take it further back. I think, Steven, you gave a lot of reasons, like, why you see the value, and I see that now. But a year ago, I was just feeling this draw of, like, Chelsey, like, it was really God, like, prompting me and saying, like, "It's time to release your voice," and I feel like, we had run our successful wedding business, and then I pivoted into motherhood, and then we had been running like a multi-million dollar business with a team while being a mom. And I just felt like there are things that going on internally that I hadn't yet shared with the world. And I'd shared bits and pieces, whether you were in our Rainmaker community, which if you think about it, like it's a tiny group of people. Like as much as I love Amazon and think it's like the number one place to create income and leverage in your life, not everyone is going to be drawn to Amazon, but they might be drawn to me and they might be drawn to motherhood and entrepreneurship. And so I can still create impact in that way, regardless of if they join my program or not. And so for me, I didn't attach a dollar amount to building a personal brand. I attached a person. And I just know like I've walked through some really amazing things. We've had like I would have never guessed our lives would be where they're at now. And I'm very grateful. But I've also endured some crazy like opposition and fear and frustration and everything that I think so many women relate with, honestly. And I feel like I do have some keys to success in that area. And beyond that, I just want to show up and be a real
Yeah.
person and just say, hey, here's my life. And so for me, that's kind of where it started from. It was really like God saying this. And also, like, it's time to start talking about what's on your heart. It's time
Yeah.
to start taking a baby step towards this thing. And as soon as I started sharing more content and sharing my life in the last year, um, I've gotten more vision, which has been really exciting and also scary at the same time.
Yeah.
So for me, that's where it started.
I mean, I'm thinking about this. I feel like, and maybe we did it the hard way because both you and I were pretty active on platforms like Instagram, kind of
Hmm.
building the brand for our previous business.
Hmm.
And then we kind of transitioned to like doing this Rainmaker thing kind of behind the scenes
Yeah.
and not
Oh,
talking
totally.
about it a lot. And
Yeah.
so then all this transformation happened in the shadows, right? And no
Yes.
one saw that.
Yeah.
And then when we had to come out and kind of be like, okay, now here's who I am, it was kind of like this coming out of the closet moment
Yeah.
of like revealing that thing. And it was almost harder because like we had to catch people up, you know?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I feel like it's almost easier just to document the journey. Just like, I think one person I've seen do this really well is Russell Brunson.
Hmm.
Like like you can go to his Marketing Secrets podcast and go to episode 1, and it's literally him just like documenting the entire journey to building like $100 million company. And like, he's just super transparent. And I think that's the key thing. If you're going to
Hmm.
like, a lot of people are like, oh, I'll share when I get there. But
Hmm.
then it's like, there's this huge gap and it's just like, you have to do all this catch up. And that's what we're kind of doing. We're leaning in now, but it's like, you're really catch up people. If
Hmm.
you just share in the journey and just transparent with where you're at, you're like, I'm not an expert. I'm just learning this,
Hmm.
like, I think that's so much more powerful than waiting to do it. Right. And you
Hmm.
get like the benefit of people following the journey. Like people
Hmm.
want to root for something. They want to, root for the underdog. They want to hear the ups and downs. And
Hmm.
so if you just share the journey, which we've now started to do more with our personal brands, in the current journey where we're at. But
Mm.
I don't know, that'd be my advice looking back is just like, I don't know. I took a whole year off Instagram. Remember that? I
Mhm.
took a whole
Yeah.
year completely off Instagram, and it was good for me to like set some new rhythms and not be as kind of legalistic about how I was posting on there.
Mhm.
But now I feel like we're really just sharing the journey, but we had to do a lot of that catch up.
Yeah. Even in sharing, like, I go back to another reason of why I'm doing this. And I think like I've learned so much from people through whether it's creating relationships with them or I just know them from afar and know their content and like their content. I feel like
Mm,
I've learned so much from social media. It's like I think social media is like the blessing and the curse. And for me, there's been big blessings um from learning from people on social media and sharing like little nuggets that are like, oh, that's a crazy life hack. And so, like, in sharing the journey, I want to do that. I think from an ROI, return on investment standpoint, I just see like the personal brand being such a huge asset because I would love to, and here's vision for what I'm building. It's like I want to be able to like talk about motherhood, talk about business. I want to be able to align myself with affiliate partnerships. I want to have this whole other revenue stream from my personal brand outside of Rainmakers. Like
mm,
that's my goal is like, and I'm putting this out there in the world. Like I want to grow my Instagram account to 1 million followers. I want to make an extra 100K in revenue per month, like from my Instagram, just like extra affiliate partnerships and products that I'm recommending. It's like, and that's creating value for somebody. I know like you and I have both like bought in products because somebody shared.
yeah.
That's value that somebody else has created, and I want to be able to do that for moms. And so again, that vision and those numbers have come from me literally just putting one foot in front of the other and having consistency, and that's where I'm come today. But building a personal brand, like beyond creating and getting in a rhythm of posting, I think there's so much internal work that happens with somebody. It's like entrepreneurship. We talk about that all the time. Like it's about who you are becoming. And I think I've gone through more personal transformation in the last year than any other year because I am forcing myself to show up when I'm uncomfortable. I'm forcing myself to think through my thoughts and how would I actually impact somebody. And it's really making me go internal more than anything else. And I think that's like the crazy aspect that if you're listening, like you care about transformation and entrepreneurship, and building a personal brand has been big for that for me.
Yeah. And I would say like, I think the big thing is if you are trying to really optimize your time
Mhm.
is not fall into kind of I was talking to we were just at a
Mhm.
mastermind retreat this weekend with a program we're in. And I was talking to someone who was going through another program that I had been through.
Mm.
And he was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this and this and this and this. And I kind of stopped him and I was just like, hey, I'll just tell you, like, the guy who leads that mastermind is awesome, but kind of like the curse of his message is do it all.
Mm.
Right. And so I think like we have this conversation with like, you've got to know kind of the season you're in
Mhm.
and you have to choose. Like, we're not choosing to be on like every single platform.
Mhm.
We do repurpose some content to other platforms, but we're not like strategically creating content for LinkedIn and
Mhm.
Pinterest and all these things. You know what I mean? Like, we are really leaning into one thing because that's what works for us in this season,
Mhm.
and so you got to figure out what works for you and not create a bunch of rules around it.
Mhm.
And I would say one of the biggest things you can do is probably just start with one. I mean, hearing Alex talk about this because he's leaned so heavy into this over the last couple of years, Alex Hermosi. Um, I mean, they spend 70K a month on content, like
Mhm.
crazy, right? But he started with one platform and then he maximizes the one platform. And then
Mm.
once he's maximizing the one platform, then he will repurpose and
Mm.
distribute to other platforms. And so I feel like we're kind of like in between one platform and maximizing one platform. We're not maximizing the platforms right now
Mhm.
just because we don't have the team capacity and like the bandwidth ourselves to
Mhm.
create that much. But like we are really leaning into Instagram specifically. But I would say that's the first step. If you do want to do this, you're like, man, I feel like I am supposed to build my personal brand.
Mhm.
I would choose like, am I going to do it separate from my other brand, my business, or am I just do them together? Like, like choose one of those, and I would
Mhm.
choose the platform. Like, is it Facebook/Meta? Is it Twitter/X. Okay, all these name
I
changes.
didn't even know there was an X.
Yeah, they're calling it X now.
Okay.
TikTok,
Mhm.
okay, YouTube or YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn. I just heard someone
Mhm.
speak about LinkedIn and how, man, on LinkedIn, if you have 10,000 followers, you're in the top, like, I forget what it is, 10% of
Mhm.
content creators on there. Like, just like interesting.
Mhm.
So where I would honestly go, where are the people you want to create a community around or
Mhm.
talk to or influence? Like, where are they hanging out? For us, we were just really comfortable with Instagram because we
Mhm.
came from a photography background. But a lot of that skill set does translate to other platforms.
Mhm.
I don't know. Any tips on like how to choose a platform?
I would just say, like, what are you already on that you understand well? Like, stick with that. And I might, some of you might be saying, like, oh, I've seen you on TikTok. How are you not on TikTok? And it's just like, well, we created a TikTok account. We tried because, TikTok's blowing up and you should be on there.
Yeah.
And so we are, but we have team run it because we're at a place financially where we can like hire someone to run that for us. But Chelsey, personally, I am not on TikTok. I'm not logging in because my
Yeah.
focus is like
We don't create content
Instagram.
specifically
Yeah.
for TikTok
Yeah.
either. We mainly just funnel into Instagram, and right now we repurpose that to
Mhm.
YouTube Shorts, TikTok, LinkedIn, Pinterest. But we have a team member that does all that. But I think I mean, we're still just very much like focusing our efforts on one
Mhm.
platform.
Yeah. So I would just say, like, what are you comfortable with? I would say, Steven, like, you really like Facebook. You've always liked Facebook, even a little bit more than me. And I really like Instagram. Like, that's my platform that I'm going to scroll and binge if I'm going to binge something. Like, I don't like Facebook as much. If Instagram to me feels fun. Like, I don't know how to describe that. Like, when I'm interacting, like I kind of have to remind myself sometimes that like, no, you're in work hours, like you're responding to DMs because you're in work hours, and not just like a personal fun thing. So and I think that's just because of the accounts that I follow are mixed on there. But for me, so I would just say choose what works for you, what you know. And I love this quote by John Maxwell. We heard him speak for the first time this past weekend. And this must be one of his like John Maxwell sayings, but I'd never heard of it. And it's consistency compounds. Consistency compounds. And I loved that because in every business we've ever done, like my superpower has been consistency. I was the one who was posting content on Facebook and Instagram back in the day. I was in charge of blogging and kind of sharing with the world our work. Not that Steven didn't, but that was kind of like my role. And I've loved that. And that's been true within the last year. Like, I wouldn't say any of my content from my personal brand hasn't gone necessarily super viral, but I've been consistent. And I've noticed, and I've had people come up to me saying, like, you're doing the whole Instagram thing, or I love your content, or I've been seeing you show up more on social media. Like, I've had multiple people say that to me. And I would say they've said it to me more recently within the last couple of months. Cause again, sometimes platforms, it takes people a while to know what you're about. And I, for a lot of years, was the photographer, and so people just thought of me as that. And I've shifted my content away from that, where even like last week, I got a message from somebody in town who's like, I'm not sure if you're doing videography or not, but would you? And I was just like, hey, we're not doing that. Like, we haven't done videography
Yeah.
for a long time,
Yeah.
but that's just what she associated with us. So it really does show that it takes time for people to recognize what you're doing and know that the direction you're going. And it takes time for your messaging to get across. It's usually not an overnight thing. Things that go viral, like I think we've had stuff on the Rainmaker family go viral. I don't really think
Yeah.
I've had it on my personal yet, and that's okay. Like, but it does show. I'm sharing with you that consistency matters. It really, really matters, and I've seen that played out in our life and in
Yeah.
our businesses.
I'd say too, people get really hung up on the numbers, but
Hmm.
like you kind of forget, like, wow, like this reel got 1,000 views. Like that in the Instagram world, that's like kind of low. But
Hmm.
like in the real world, like think about like 1,000 people seeing your
Yeah.
thing. Like that's a lot of people, you know?
Yeah.
And there is like even sometimes like on Instagram posts or things like that where it's not showing you views, you're just seeing likes or comments. You have no idea how many people are like looking at your stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
that stuff really does compound. I've
Mm.
seen people like, we've had people join our program, who we've met. And they're like, yeah, I went through your thing like way long ago. It's like, we never
Yeah.
knew, you know?
Yeah.
Or like I've had the most, I mean, we had some guy come up to us at farmer's market or
Mm.
like a coffee shop, like, or I was at the bank the other day. The lady's like, I recognize your voice,
Oh,
you know? And I was
no.
like, oh, cool. Like, she's like, I'm going through your challenge right now,
Shout
you
out if
know?
you're listening to
Shout
this.
out Wells Fargo, you know? I was like, oh, cool. That's awesome. You
Yeah.
know? So it's just like, you never know, you
Yeah,
know?
it's true.
And so social media is one of those things. And it's also like, I think one of the cool things for like, if you are building a personal brand, you have a product you're selling, a
Mhm.
business, people go like search you. Like when they're
Mhm.
looking up your stuff, they go look online. And if they see you being active on there all the time, it's like encouraging. I go to this like jujitsu gym and it's
Mm.
like I go to their Instagram and the last time they posted was like 2022.
And you're like,
And I'm
"Come
like, is this
on."
gym even still open? I don't know,
Yeah.
you know? And so like it's like, yeah, I know it takes time to do, you know, but like
Yeah.
I would say Instagram, oh, I know we're talking about Instagram a lot, but that's like where we've really leaned in.
Mhm.
It's really like loosened up in like its like professionalism, you know, like it
Mhm.
used to be like Instagram was all about like having a really aesthetic feed.
Yeah.
And some people still really stick to that. Like, oh, I
It's
have
been
this,
hard for me to
my
break.
palette, you
Yeah,
know?
from a
Remember
photography
that? You would like
standpoint.
plan out your post because
Oh,
you're
so
like, oh,
stressful.
I only do a blue post like every
Yeah,
3
I still
weeks.
feel that way about things like colors and everything. Like, it's
Yeah,
hard for
there's
me
still an
to let it
element of
go.
branding, but
Yeah.
it's way less like
Yeah.
that because of like reels and like kind of I just feel like the culture has even shifted to being
Mhm.
like just more like,
Get me, yeah,
yeah,
fast.
like quick win culture. So
Yeah.
it's like you can really, I mean, I follow Instagram accounts like every post is the same thing. Like if someone's just talking, you know what I mean? I
Mhm.
mean, my Instagram's a lot like that right now, you
Mhm.
know? So you can really get away with low barrier content just shot on your phone. So I think like just getting started, I would say the next thing. So we talked about choosing a platform.
Mhm.
The next thing is like creating a rhythm.
Mhm.
Me and Chelsea are big believers in rhythm, but not rules. So
Mhm.
a rhythm is like, I'm gonna, you know, my goal is this. And so when you break that goal down, it actually means like being consistent and creating
Mhm.
a rhythm around that. So like, are you gonna post once a week, 2 to 3 times a week, every day? Like for that platform, you know, there's probably like a max that would be too much for that platform. And then there's probably like a minimum that's probably like not effective, right? So like you want to land somewhere in there, but also something that works with your family and your
Mhm.
life. And it's not overextending you because like social media is one of those things that just like pays you right away, right?
Mhm.
It's this consistency that compounds over time to build that influence so that you can, you know, impact people and make income off of that platform. So I would choose a rhythm and I'd stick to it, but I wouldn't be like so religious about it that like I don't know, we just used to do that a lot where it's like, I haven't posted. Oh
Mhm.
my
I mean, I
gosh.
still feel that way sometimes for sure
Okay. Well, I don't.
with the stories. Yeah. Steven is like free flowing and I'm like, oh, yeah. So with that creative rhythm, I would just encourage you to like set the bar a little lower than you think. Like instead of saying like, I'm going to post 5 days a week, what if you started with like 2 to 3? Like 2 to 3 feels like that's so easy. I can do it in the beginning of the week and the end. And if anything extra sprinkled in, great. So I'm,
Yeah.
I'm just all about like setting it a little bit lower, not because you're trying to lowball yourself or that your standards are low, but just like you want to win, like be able to win.
Yeah.
Like you will feel more motivated if you actually win and check off the thing instead of having this, like if you've never posted on social media and decide I'm going to do every single day, like that's harder to do. So just start lower. And then if you get into a rhythm, I bet you'll find yourself posting more than just once or twice. And then with that, like again, I'm talking about Instagram here because we're comfortable. Like if you are on Instagram or doing some kind of short form video content that's shorter, you can do this on YouTube. Like what if every day, and I think TikTok has a feature like this. What if you just like went
Mm.
live, not live, but what if you just shared a story of 60 seconds? That's like however many like quick, that's like 2 30-second clips on Instagram stories. What if you committed to doing that where it was a mix of showing your life, going on a walk, sharing your face and who you are? Like, I think
Yeah.
that's easy to do because again, people want to know and see, and then you can kind of see like what sticks. And honestly, like, at least for right now, like I find sometimes the most random things that I share about are the most relatable. And it's oftentimes the things that I will hit share and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm regretting this. This is like so silly. Like I'm walking with my eyes closed. People are going to think I'm an idiot, you know? And like it's that thing that I get messaged of like, oh, I do the same thing. I do the same thing. Or, oh,
Yeah.
that's funny, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like stressing out that I would look silly. And then here I am relating with people. So it's almost like now I know it's like when I have those nudges to share something silly, I should be like, oh, this is going to do really
Yeah.
well. Like it should be the opposite.
Yeah, and social media is free. Like, it doesn't cost you any money
Yeah.
to post. So it's a great place to just experiment and figure out your voice, figure out your style, Don't try to be someone else, just like post your own stuff. And experiment. Cause like you never know. Like,
Mhm.
and the thing is, like, I guess we'll get into that tip in just a second here because it has to do with kind of content what you're posting. But I would say back on platforms like I would basically do what the platform favors. Okay.
Mhm.
So different platforms favor different type of content.
Mhm.
And so I would do what that platform is emphasizing. So if the platform has a new feature, like you might want to use that, right?
Mhm.
Cause they're trying to like, like TikTok shops is like new, right? So like they're kind of amping up people that do TikTok
Mhm.
shops and like getting in front of more people. Right now on Instagram, it's like Reels. Reels is kind of like the thing, it's not the newest thing, but like Instagram is definitely like favoring Reels over feed posts. I mean, feed posts are making a comeback, but even over stories, I feel like,
Mhm.
so figure out what the platform favors and do that. And I would honestly keep it simple and do, like I'd rather be consistent with a small goal
Mm.
that's like, my minimum viable, this is all I can do is just like
Mhm.
on my cell phone and I'm not gonna do any fancy editing. I'd rather be consistent with that than inconsistent with like some big goal. Like I'm gonna post every day and it's gonna be high quality content because you'll
Mhm.
just burn yourself out. So
Yeah.
um choose a platform, create a rhythm, consistency compounds. I would say lastly, before we get into that hot tip to
Hot,
grow
hot
your
tip.
Instagram, um, is cultivate community. I
Mhm.
think like these platforms are called social media, right?
Mhm.
And so I would definitely, as a part of your strategy, bake in some sort of social element, right?
Mhm.
So that means respond. I mean, like I have people right now who are just super consistent with this. I'm like, dang, how do they do that? And I know some people have team or VAs and things like that. But I do it when I can. Like I'll respond, like a comment, reply to a comment, reply to the DM, like, share a thing, right? Like, how can you be social? And I feel like Instagram specifically, we're seeing this a lot more with creators doing collabs and like, what do they call
Mhm.
those? I think it's called a collab, right?
Mhm.
When you do a reel with someone else,
Oh, yeah.
like they're really leaning into that, or live streams, you can add other people in.
Mhm.
It's like, think about how you can do that with other people to make it social and to kind of like make your message go further by um, leveraging other people.
We talk all the time about the importance of finding who's for your to dos so you can focus on your strengths. That's where Fiverr comes in. It's an affordable solution that can help you dip your toe into buying back your time. I'll never forget the first time I discovered Fiverr and realized I could have people help me in my business for as little as $5. Whether you need graphics, design, videos, animation, even music, voiceovers, or cute drawing of your family for an upcoming gift. Discovering Fiverr was a game changer. Head over to rainmakerfamily.com/deals to create your account and get your special hookup. Again, that's rainmakerfamily.com/deals. Okay, so we've kind of given you guys like a recap about building a personal brand. I've given you guys an inside look into my own journey really in the last year, like the good, the bad, what is working, how we've tried to maneuver this. And now Stephen promised me getting that we would share that hot tip with you. And we're going to share that with you now. And I'll never forget our friend Jackie is the one who shared this with us. And she stood up. We were at a mastermind. She's like, I am growing my account by and upwards of 500 followers every single week. And I feel like that's incredible for anybody who isn't just creating content on their own. You're not hiring a big old agency. That is amazing. 500 followers per week doing this. And so we're like, Jackie, you have to share with us what you're doing. And she pulled out her phone and it was super simple. So Steven's going to share with you that hot tip that we promised in the very beginning of this episode.
Cool, cool. If you like kind of actionable tips like this, we do have a whole podcast episode on how we're growing our Rainmaker family Instagram. This time last year, we were at 4,000 followers. Now we're close to 300,000 followers. That strategy takes a little bit of cash because you are actually using shout outs from influencer pages to do it. This strategy, though, is completely free. I'm going to walk you through on your phone. Okay, so grab your phone. I'm not sharing my screen or anything, but I'm just going to walk you through it in detail of how to find where to get this information because it's super simple. Once you figure it out, it's a really easy thing to look at that gives you great data on what's going to get you in front of more people. Okay. So you're going to open up Instagram. You're going to click in the bottom right hand corner. You see your little photo there. You're looking good. Go to your
Looking
profile.
good.
Okay. Now, this only works, I think, if you have a business account on Instagram or you're a creator account. Like, there's certain accounts that give you more like analytics. Okay. And you can swap back and forth between personal and business. So if you need to change, you go to the upper right hand corner. There's those little three lines. It looks like a little hamburger. And you can change the style of your account to a business account. Okay. So if you don't know how to do that, just Google it. You'll be able to do it. And so then you'll be able to see this feature. If you don't know what you are, you can just check what I'm about to show you or tell you about. And if you don't see this, then you need to just shift your account to that style account, and then you'll see this data. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your feed and you're going to click on one of your reels, one of your posts, that type of thing. Okay. Underneath, if you have this right type of account, I think my account's a creator account or business account. You're going to see a little blue button that says boost post. We're not going to do that. But on the left-hand side, you're going to see one that says view insights. Okay. View insights. So you can click on that and it's going to show you all this data around that reel. This reel got 1,800 views and 4 comments. Not great. Okay. But here's the thing. When you scroll down, there's a section called reach. Okay. Reach. And in this section, it shows you how many accounts this post reached total. And it breaks it up on the left side of how many of your followers did it reach. And on the right-hand side, it shows you how many non-followers did it reach. Now, this particular post I'm looking at right now reached 1,200 of my followers that people that follow me, they saw it. And guess how many non-followers it reached? 30.
I was going to say 30.
Sad. That's sad. Okay, so the strategy here is you want to take a look at your posts that you've done. And you want to find the posts, click view insights, go look at them, just go look at each one. You want to find the posts that are reaching more non-followers than followers. I just clicked on another one. This one has reached 3,000 non-followers and 1,000 followers. That's good. Okay. I want to see a higher ratio to non-followers than followers, because what gets you more followers on the platform of Instagram? Getting in front of new people. Right. So when I know that my reels and posts are being seen by more non-followers, that's more swings, more chances that people find my account. And so all you do is you look through historical data of your account. You find the stuff that reached a lot of non-followers and you remake that stuff. That's simply all you do. So I'm not saying say the same thing, but like I literally do this. Every time I sit down to create content for Instagram, I do about once a month. I create a whole month's worth of content in about an hour. Right. So every time I do that, I actually have someone on my team. You could do this yourself. Go through each post and put them in a spreadsheet. Show me all the posts that reach the most non-followers. And I make variations of that content. I say similar things. We write similar captions. We elaborate on that topic, because obviously that's the thing that the algorithm is like, ooh, people want this right now. They want it. Yeah. And you guys know, like you guys follow accounts like this on Instagram where it's like literally every video they do is the same style. You know, like there's that girl who's like, interviewing herself and like talking about the terms and conditions. And like, I read the terms and conditions. And if you follow this person, like she's figured out a format that works. Right. And so like, she just does it over and over and over again. And so I know it sounds a little boring, but it's like really mastery of like the algorithm. Right. And figuring out like what right now is working and then doing more of that. And so getting a good feedback loop for yourself based on the data, that's the hot Instagram tip of the month there. Shout out to Jackie Dorman who shared that with us. And I hope this conversation is inspiring you to build your personal brand. Again, we don't want to add more homework onto your plate. If this is not for you, you probably didn't listen this far. But if it is for you, you're sensing like, wow, that would be really valuable. I want to start doing that. All of this, choose a platform, right? Create a rhythm, cultivate community, and use that hack to grow to the next level. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all on another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. If you're not a part of our mastermind yet, I want to say I think you're missing out. Our heart here at Rainmaker is to create total abundance for you. That's why we're offering a free one-on-one family freedom design session for you, our faithful listener. Yeah, if you want to hop on a call with our team, see if it's a good fit to build a business that creates time freedom for you, financial abundance, and helps you leave that thriving family legacy. That's what we're all about in our mastermind. You can grab a time on our team's calendar at rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind. Again, that's rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind.